Yes, yes, it's your favorite podcast. Welcome back. This is the 2vement podcast with your host, Davey D, and the vengeful one.
Hello, hello.
And guess what? We love it when you call us Big Poppa. Today we have Big Poppa Brian on the show. Welcome, Big Poppa.
Guys, thanks for having me so much. It's going to be some big shoes to fill after hearing the last interview you did with Gerson, but I'll try my best.
We know you'll come through for us here.
Yeah, man.
I do have to apologize in advance. As you guys know, I'm a New York City school teacher, and I do have the week off. I do have my son home, so you may hear him in the background. I'm hoping not. I stuck him with his iPad, so hopefully he'll be good for a little bit.
Is he playing some champions right now?
No, he's watching some PJ Masks, actually.
Nice. So, Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to start? Who is Big Poppa Brian?
All right, so New York City, born and raised.
Represent.
Can I be a little cliche and say on the playgrounds where I spent most of my days? A little bit of Fresh Prince reference. Too bad I'm not actually from Philly.
Very nice.
But yeah, so I grew up in New York City. I actually live in the suburbs of Long Island right now. Married, one child. This March I'll be married about 8 years. Yesterday, actually, I hit my 365 day in champions, so I'm celebrating my 1 year anniversary with them.
Nice.
I'm a New York City school teacher. I teach 4th grade math in a special ed co-teaching classroom. Love what I do, and obviously on my spare time, which I really don't have much of with a 6-year-old child, I play some champions and I rock the game, and I do my best to help out people on the side.
It sounds awesome, man. I like that. Well, what got you into special ed?
To be quite honest, there's some personal reasons behind it, which I really don't care to discuss on a public forum. But one of the major reasons was it was the easiest program to get into at the time. To be quite honest, considering I did not have an education background going into my master's degree, I'd switched careers at the age of 32.
Okay.
So special ed was the easiest to get into. I wanted math originally, to be honest, like a full-on like 7 to 12, middle school, high school math background, but I did not have the undergrad math credits to do it. So I was able to take 1 or 2 courses to get into the special ed program, and I actually ended up really liking it and finding that you can help more people that way. And
That's awesome.
I'm all about helping people.
Yeah, that we can tell. And what was your career prior to teaching?
I bounced around from career to career. Actually, I started as an administrative assistant for actually an early intervention agency in Manhattan. That was my first full-time job that wasn't like bagging groceries at the local supermarket. So I did that for about a year, and then I went on and I became an assistant manager for the Walgreens Corporation. I did that for about a year and a half, and then I moved from that position to working for an auto parts store, a locally owned auto parts store in Brooklyn. And it was actually, that store was ever expanding and ended up having 4 stores. And now that I'm not there anymore, I actually still speak to some guys there. They've doubled the amount of stores to 8 stores. So it's a pretty growing business. Very cutthroat business, the auto part industry. We sold to all the mechanics in the neighborhood, but there was a lot of competition at the time. The hours were very stressful. I was working 60 to 70 hours a week.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, I know what that's like.
So, right. It was a very stressful. I mean, listen, I can't lie. The pay was very nice. But, my mental health wasn't worth it. I met my wife, and she was a little taken back by the fact that I didn't have a college degree at the time. I was like, well, look at what I do for a living. I don't need a college degree. And she's like, you work for a locally owned business and you don't have a college degree. What happens if the business owner decides to sell his business tomorrow and the new owner wants an entire new staff? You're done and you have no career path. And I was taken back by that. I was like, you're absolutely 100% right.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think in this day and age, it's almost a hygiene factor. Nobody congratulates you if you brush your teeth in the morning, but if you don't, they recognize it. And it's the same thing with a college degree, for better or worse. I do think just the cost of higher education has just become insane lately, which
it's true. It's true. Like, listen,
I don't know how many professions can justify the return on investment for your typical undergraduate degree. But at the same time, if you don't have it, it's going to be very hard to get a job.
Like when my parents were younger, my age, you needed a high school diploma to get a decent job, and a college degree got you a great job. And if you had a post college degree, like a master's degree or a doctorate, you were like one of the richest people in the town. Like, let's be honest about it. Now it's like, if you just have a high school degree, McDonald's may take you. If you get your bachelor's degree, someone will give you an entry level position. If you have your master's, great. Like, the master's degree is the new college degree.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'll even go as far to say is, I got my doctorate degree last year, and
congratulations.
With the medical school debt, that was a professional degree, but with the debt that you accrue over that time, you're talking at least 15-20 years for the typical person to be able to repay that. And at that point, like, what happens to the house that you're trying to save for, or a wedding, or retirement? I mean, it's children's futures. Like, it's crazy, and you have to get a bit creative with how you bring in revenue and income, in this day and age. But
I mean, listen, thankfully, my wife and I, we're very comfortable. We live a nice life. Like I said, we live in the suburbs of Long Island, and it's not cheap, but we're comfortable.
Right. That's good.
Isn't it cheaper than Brooklyn, though?
Yes and no. I mean, for the amount of money you're going to spend on a house in Long Island, you're going to get twice the property that you would in Brooklyn. So cheaper, no, but more for your money, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Because a house my size in Brooklyn just doesn't exist.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it did exist, that would be
the rent would be astronomical. Yeah.
It would be 3 times the price. Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
Well, that was also one of the reasons I love New York. I love visiting, but cost of living was something that
yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, you need a mortgage just to pay for a cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah. Or the tolls to get to work and back.
Oh my God.
I'm on that boat. It's about $14 a day for my tolls to and from work.
Jeez.
Oh, it's insane. It's more than a Shane contract a day.
I'm like, all kidding aside, like, I know people, like, they make references like, oh my God, I just bought a new jacket that could have been 2 megapulls. Like, I try not to live my life by like how many megapulls or how much within the game I could have spent, because real life has to come first. And that's one thing a lot of players in this game don't understand, is that real life has to come first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to jump the gun. When you say real life comes first, it puts me in the mindset of feuding. How do you balance feuding and real life with, like, a significant other or your kid wanting your attention, stuff like that?
So I do most of my feuding at nighttime when everybody else is sleeping. And it's my choice, but I sacrifice some of the precious sleep hours to get my points on the board. And the truth is, in order for the factions to do well, you need people playing at all times. Like, that's one, like, it's no big secret. I'm not giving away any of Execution's or Creep Squad secrets, for that matter. You need people playing 24 hours a day. Throughout the 48-hour feud or throughout the 24-hour feud, you need somebody playing at all times. And you need a good amount of people playing at all times. Otherwise, the other teams that do have those people playing at those times are going to score points while you're not. So I'm one of the people who prefers to do most of my playing at nighttime. If it's on the weekend, if I don't have major plans, like, I have gone to the movies during a feud and put my phone in my pocket and not played. I just don't play for those few hours. Again, real life has to come first. Do I love playing the feud? Yeah, I love the competition in the feud. I love the idea of being able to listen. I have one of the big rosters in the feud. I love the idea that somebody with a smaller roster is going to come in and see my roster in a feud and be like, oh my God, I can't beat this. And they put their iPad or their phone away for 90 minutes and come back when they can face somebody else.
Right.
I love that idea.
Okay.
But again, like, there was a feud during my son's birthday weekend. What did I do? I went to my son's birthday party. I kept my phone in the car. I didn't even bring the phone in with me. And that feud happened to be when I was still in Creep Squad. That was the last feud that Creep Squad took first place in before Execution took over.
So one could surmise that you sitting out the feud was the reason for Creep Squad's demise.
Well, they still won the feud.
Oh, Creep Squad still won?
They still won, but I'm saying that was like
the last one.
That
okay.
was the term.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you could see how important it was. Like that was the last feud that we won. So, but to me, going to my son's birthday party and spending time with family and friends, you know, like let's be honest, when you go to a birthday party, you see people that you haven't seen since the last birthday party.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like that's more important to me.
Absolutely is.
And there are people who are like no, you need to be feuding, and you know, if anybody feels that way, it's very unfortunate that they're letting a game control their life.
And this game can very easily control your life in many ways. Not just
it's worse than a drug. It really is. I've seen the way some people spend. You know, people are like, oh my God, I need to have this. I need to pull, but I don't have any money. What can I do? You know, can somebody lend me some? Like, no.
What? Lend you money? What?
Yeah, like, oh, hopefully, like, my neighbor can lend me some money until I get my paycheck or something. Dude, that's...
No.
Can't allow that to happen.
No, and
it can be worse than a drug.
It really can. I mean,
the thing is, at least with drugs, you have something in your hands to show for it.
Yeah, most of the time with a 30 pull, you have nothing to show for it.
I got about 3,000 Big Show dupes.
3,000?
I think that's the most I've heard of.
Jeez.
You haven't met some of the whales then.
I know. I'm sure. I'm sure Bane has an insane number.
I could ask him right now, actually, but
yeah,
Bane or we got some other guys in Execution. I know one guy. He took a screenshot of his poster page. He had like 12,000 NXT Rollins.
Oh my God. Jeez.
I'm like, you will never use 12,000 posters. No matter what. Like, he could go to 12-star platinum.
Oh my God, that's funny. Wow. I wish they would implement some sort of system where you can, like, I don't know, barter or trading posters for other stuff, because...
Think of it this way. I'm actually looking at my inventory right now. Now, let's take a guy like NXT Rollins, for example. I have him maxed out 3-star gold and all 5 moves at level 10. Right, so there is no 4-star currently.
Right.
But I have, as soon as I pull him up, 1,860 posters of him.
Ooh.
And that's not even just from pulls. Like, if you think about it, like every time you do like your free bag and you get 2 posters of him, like
right.
So I have 1,860 posters of him. So let's say 4-star came out tomorrow. Now, assuming that they continue the trend, each move would be, what, 180 or 200 even?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be able to max out all the moves and still have some left over. I should be able to at least, let's say, do, you know, he's an acrobat, trade 4 posters for 1 blue TP.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's fair. That's fair.
Listen, I'm not saying, okay, listen, I want to trade my 3,000 Big Show posters for 3,000 black TP. Well, first of all, he's a trickster.
Right.
So it would have to be purple. But there should be like a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, or even 4-to-1.
Even 4-to-1, I would take. I mean, because there's some of those characters that I'm not Big Show. I'm not going to use them.
I have 3,042 Big Show posters.
Unless he becomes some insane trainer, you know, at 4 stars.
Well, he is a pretty good trainer. He is a good trainer.
He's a pretty good trainer, but
for who?
But I have no use for him right now. Like, I don't have
purple
guys
move damage. So,
right, I don't have any guys that need purple move damage right now.
Right. Like sometimes if I don't have Woods on Warrior, I'll stick him on there because 2 purple moves, why not? But it really doesn't make or break him. So we talked a little bit about this when we were talking about your feuding, but and also the fact that you just hit 365 days. But so just walk us through like your history with the game, when you started playing, maybe some of your first major pulls, and as well as your faction.
So when I first started playing, obviously I was just like anybody else who picked up the game, like who's an avid wrestling fan, and saw they were advertising for the game. So I downloaded the game. I was like, oh, okay, it's Candy Crush with wrestlers. Like that was my opinion. Like, oh my God, okay, I'm playing Candy Crush except there's wrestlers. So I downloaded the game. I played like 1 or 2. I did the tutorial. I played I was like, all right, this is a little boring, and I put it down. And then I was at I think a CPR training for my camp that I work at in the summer, and somebody else had just downloaded the game also. And he's like, yeah, I've got The Rock, I've got John Cena, I've got Roman Reigns. He's like, this is pretty cool, but it's like whatever. So then I saw more commercials, like, all right, let me. And one of the big commercials I remember is like they would talk. It was like Randy Savage and John Cena doing a back and forth through video, even though they weren't actually talking to each other because Randy Savage is dead. But I remember that commercial. I was like, all right, let me pick this game up again and give it a shot. So then I started playing it a little bit, started enjoying it, started getting some characters, and I was like, I really don't have that many characters. So I was like, you know what? I have some extra iTunes money that I had in my account from like Christmas gifts and stuff like that from students. I was like, let me try one of these. Let me, grab some posters or whatever they call it right at the time. I didn't know. I was like, let me do a 30 pull. So I can get. I honestly thought that doing a 30 pull meant I was going to get 30 new wrestlers.
Like, oh, how little you knew.
Right. So I was like, all right. So I did the 30 pull, and like the very last 30 of the 30 pull, I got a 3-star Brock Lesnar.
Ooh,
nice.
I was like, oh, so I do a 30 pull and I get a 3-star bronze wrestler. This is not a bad deal.
Oh boy.
Oh, little.
Boy, did I learn the hard way that was not true. So my first ever 30 pull, I pulled the powerhouse Brock Lesnar.
Wasn't that the same for you, Virgil?
He got me through everything. Like, I obviously leveled him up as quickly as I could. He got me through the entire tour, the road. He got me through my dailies. He got me through my first few feuds. Mm-hmm. And I did a few more 30 pulls after that. I think I tried to pull for AJ. I tried to pull for, I want to say Edge when he was a 3-star bronze. Like, we're going back almost a year already. And I was unsuccessful. I was like, okay, so maybe you're not supposed to automatically get this 3-star every time. I get it now. It's like a gambling type thing.
Right.
Okay, but at least I'm getting posters for some of the other guys that I want to pull up. I started leveling up some guys. There are some guys on my roster that I have leveled up as far as like 2-star gold that if I pulled them now, they'd be sitting there unleveled. And I think everybody has those in their roster. Mm-hmm. But like Titus O'Neil sat there unleveled forever at 1-star gold. I was like, this guy doesn't seem any good, and I have no reason to level him. I have a great that, at the time Brock was the best powerhouse in the game. Now, mind you, when I started playing, there was no such thing as trainers.
Right. Oh yeah.
There's no such thing as trainers. So Brock really was like one of the best cards in the game at the time. Then Faction Feud came out. I was like, what is this Faction Feud? And I was a member of a faction. I couldn't even tell you the name of the faction. I think I just clicked the first faction that I saw in the faction hub because I had to join a faction to get $100 cash for the Vince missions.
Yeah.
So I did that, and like occasionally I would get like gifts, like when people would buy their Shane contract or when people would buy an enhanced pack. But it wasn't anything major. Nothing too insane. So then the Faction Feud came around. I tried to join one, and nobody was in the lobby.
Ooh.
Like, nobody joined the feud. I was like, all right, whatever. And I just said, forget about it, and I didn't play. And then a couple of feuds went by. I was like, whatever, nothing. And then I started getting like really more active into the game. Like, I was doing better on the road. I was clearing more of the road. I just cleared a lot of the hard modes. And I went in. I was like, all right, let me try this Faction Feud thing again. So I actually changed factions because I saw like in the chat people were advertising for factions. I was like, oh, if they're advertising for a faction, they must be a good faction, right? Little did I know. I joined, and like people were feuding, but it wasn't like that serious. Like, I was waiting a long time in the queue. So then I looked at the leaderboard, and Creep Squad was in first place, Drinky Clan was in second place, and Legends Live Forever was the third place at the time. And this was I don't remember which feud it was. It was a long time ago. It may have been the third or the fourth feud. I think it was actually the third feud, and the prize was the Striker Gold Dust.
Wow, what a prize!
So I was like, all right, let me see if I can get into this first place faction, right? I go to Creep Squad, and it said 99 out of 100, but the faction is closed. so you couldn't even like request to get in. I was like, oh, they can do that? They can close their faction and just not let people in? Like, I really thought you just went and joined a faction and that was it. And then I tried Drinky Clan, and because, you know, I was being one of those people. I'll be honest, I'm like one of those people that if they jump into my faction, I kick them out now. But then I went to Drinky Clan. They were at 100 out of 100. And then I went to Legends Live Forever, and they were at like 98 out of 100. So I was like, all right, let me join them. And then I saw that it said request. So I hit the request button. And I would say within 5 minutes, I got a notification that my request to join Legends Live Forever has been accepted.
Nice.
I was like, oh, okay. So then the leader, who I'm actually pretty good friends with now, his name is Kenny. Danger Kenny B is his game name.
Oh, yeah.
He reached out to me and said, listen, normally we only accept like, you know, 50K rosters plus, but we see that you have a 3-star bronze Brock. You know, let's see how you can do. So in that feud, I think I scored like 200,000 points because it was like late into the feud when I did it.
Mm-hmm.
The next feud came around. We were all hyped. The prize was Rusev. And again, this is like before trainers.
Yeah.
Right. And it was literally right before trainers came out because trainers actually came out right before trainers came out for the next feud.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, all right, let's see what we can do. We all wanted Rusev because, you know, it was Rusev, let's be real. And Legends dropped into 4th place, and actually Execution took 3rd place in that feud. So and no everything fell apart. Like the faction, like we were hoping to get into 2nd, we were hoping to overtake Drinky, and we ended up going from 3rd to 4th.
Right, which is a huge drop at that time.
Right. So Kenny reached out to the leaders of Creep Squad and arranged a merger with Creep Squad. So we ended up merging with Creep Squad, and we became Creepy Legends, which became the feeder for Creep Squad.
Oh, right.
So that's what happened. That's how Creepy Legends became about. I spent about a week and a half in Creepy Legends, and at some point in there, Tough was the mega, and I pulled for him. And on my first shot, I pulled him.
The luck on this guy.
He listen. My luck with megas is if I don't pull them on my first pull, I don't pull them. So like I could do 20 pulls for a guy and not get him, but if I get him unless I got him on the first try. So then I ended up being in Creepy Legends for about a week. I helped build them, I helped level them, I get them up to like, you know, level 20 at the time to get the 100 members. And then I got a message from Kenny saying there's an opening in Creep Squad and he wants to know if I want it. I was like, well, why don't you take it yourself? He was like, well, Creepy Legends isn't ready to be without me leader yet, so I need, you know, we're going to send you up.
Nice.
Like, okay. So I went up to Creep Squad. They're like, oh, yeah, you know, we have the feud coming up this weekend. We knew there was a feud. We didn't know who the prize was yet. But the prize ended up turning out to be Jerry Lawler.
Oh, wow. Boy.
And this was valuable. Right after trainers had first come in play.
Oh, I didn't realize that they put Lawler as the prize after he became an MP trainer. Like right away, almost.
Nobody knew how, like I won Jerry Lawler. He sat unleveled in my roster for a few months. Not realizing the value of him. And the reason he sat on level is I knew the value.
He also had Rollins to level up too, the same class. So
no, Rollins was already like 3-star silver at that point.
Okay.
The reason he sat on levels is because I didn't have Daniel Bryan.
That makes sense.
I was like, but I had Del Rio and I had Woods and I had Rollins. So Del Rio was my go-to guy until I got Daniel.
Right.
Plus Del Rio had the country link at the time. So it was literally like first turn verse.
Yeah.
But so then I sat in Creep Squad for a while and like I stayed in Creep Squad. We won a few feuds. Like I said, my son's birthday weekend was the last feud that we took first place. I believe the prize was Sin Cara. Like they have had some really bad feud prizes.
Which month was that?
That was July.
July, okay.
So that was also the day that I got Daniel Bryan. And I remember that because that was the day of the first player's choice.
I was just gonna say that, yeah. July, that was a good pack.
Like that was the best pack I've seen so far.
How do you guys remember months from years ago? It feels like specifically. Well,
because they were really important occasions in this game, and
that was when I got Enzo. In that pack, I got Enzo, Cass, Batista, and Daniel Bryan.
Nice.
And of those 4, Batista's maxed out at 3-star silver, and the other 3 are maxed out at 3-star gold.
Yeah, that pack, I ended up getting quite a few new guys, but I got Daniel Bryan for the first time, Enzo for the first time, and Harlem Heat Booker T. And
I didn't get Harlem Heat Booker until the Thanksgiving Player's Choice.
Right.
So,
but yeah, Booker sat unleveled for a long time on my roster. I had no idea how good he was.
Right. So the very next feud was, I believe, Seth Rollins. The Architect was the prize. Again, it wasn't really the prize that we're so concerned about. And Execution, out of the door, just destroyed us. Like, we had no chance of ever, like, we started in second place, and there was no looking back at that. And that's when things in Creep Squad, in my opinion, really started to go downhill. Like, we lost first place, and then people started fighting with each other. Like, oh, you know, if you would have done more points, or if you would have done more points, or if this person would have done that, you know, we could have done this. Oh, you know, you decided not to feud this weekend because you had your brother's wedding. How dare you?
What?
Like, that's not a real example, but like, it really felt like, it was more of a job than it was anything else. And I was like,
that's unfortunate.
And it started to not be fun anymore. And I was like, all right, it's a game. You don't play a game if it's not fun. Otherwise, it's a job.
Right.
It's like I'm not a professional baseball player where I might not enjoy playing anymore, but I'm making millions of dollars doing it, so I'm going to continue.
Right.
You know, this is something I do with my spare time that I don't get paid for.
Right.
So, quite the opposite, in fact.
Right. I don't get paid for this. So you know what? It's not fun anymore. Then we another feud happened where we took third place. You know, and Execution took first and second place, and we took third. And people were like, and actually one of the leaders at the time, I'm not going to mention names because, you know, he's actually still well respected in the Creep Squad family. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was exhausted. We were in second place, but Execution was rising, you know, very quickly to the second place spot. And I couldn't keep my eyes open. And I said, listen, I'm going to go lie down for a few hours. I'll be back in about 3.5, 4 hours. And he said to me, don't be surprised if when I wake up, we're in third place. So I said, are you telling me if I don't go to sleep, we'll stay in second place? He goes, he said, don't be surprised if when you wake up, we're in third place. That's all he says to me. So to me, he's implying that like, it's my fault that we end up in third place if I go to sleep. So I went to sleep anyway, because again, I couldn't keep my eyes open. Again, you know, I'm a teacher. I was up I leave my house at 5:30 in the morning. It's 3:30 in the morning next day. I'm up for 23 hours already. I need to sleep.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I slept. I woke up, and we were in third place. And he then sends me messages. I hope you enjoyed your nap. See what I told you.
How insensitive.
Right. Whatever. We ended up taking third place by, like, I would say less than 1 million points, actually, because during the last hour, we were fighting with Haven for the third place spot. And to me, actually, that was, like, really, that part was actually a little exciting. The fact that we were actually fighting for a spot rather than being guaranteed the spot.
Right.
You know, like, one of the things that I find boring with Feud is like, after, like, 12, 13 hours, the spot is basically secured. So we were fighting, and it came down to it, and we ended up taking third place. The next day, we had a meeting amongst the leaders. I literally got promoted to an assistant leader that day. And we had a talk, and they were like, oh, what can we implement to, you know, try to take back our rank? And, you know, it felt like, to me, like they wanted to hear ideas, but they really wanted to spit their ideas at people and just to get people to agree with their ideas. And hold on a second. What's up, buddy?
You can't create a robot.
You can't create a robot.
I'm trying to create one.
Ethan, you have to play the game and earn those stars. That's why you can't use that. So you have 0 of those. So you need to earn those stars. Okay, buddy?
I have.
You only have 20. but you don't have
these
enough.
These can be run, but I have enough to run these.
You have enough for these. You don't have enough for these.
But I do have enough for
okay.
those. These can be run by no stars.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, so you need 280 more stars. You have to play a little bit more to earn more stars, buddy. All right? Can you go do that in the other room? Daddy's busy right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Can you edit that out?
Brian, I am not going to edit it out because I think what you did there is so special. I actually have goosebumps right now. Try not to get emotional. To see a father actually take time out to address his son's concerns and not give the "I'm too busy" or "I'll talk to you later." Like you actually put your sons first above an interview,
he is first.
above a game. I think people need to see that priority in life in general. So I'm not going to edit that out. That was very beautiful. I just want to commend you for putting your son first.
Thank you. Now, where was I? So it felt to me more like they were projecting their ideas and just getting us to agree with them so they could validate their ideas, and that they really didn't want to hear other ideas.
Right.
So I spoke to my friend Kenny, who was in Creep Squad with me at the time, and we were both in that meeting that they had. We're like, listen, excuse my language, there's a lot of bullshit going on, and we're not appreciative of it. Like, we feel like our ideas aren't being heard. And so Kenny was like, listen, do you want to go somewhere else? Do you want to stick it out? And, and the truth is, like, at the time, if you left Creep Squad to go to execution, you were considered a traitor. And rightfully so, if you think about it. Like, they're beating us.
It's your top rival. I mean.
Right. It's like defecting to Russia back in the days. Anybody who's a history buff will get that.
Or joining the Eagles, whatever.
Right. Well, listen, I rooted for the Eagles just because I hate the Patriots. It's a matter of which team I hated more, and the answer is Tom Brady.
It was the worst. Anyway.
Well, there's one way it could have been worse. If it was Patriots Cowboys.
I don't know.
Anyway, let's not be sidetracked from it. So we spoke about it, and the truth is, I had not had that high of an opinion of Calvin at the time. Calvin, the leader of execution.
Right.
My opinion of him was not high, and it wasn't anything to his fault. I hadn't given him the time of day, so how could I have any of it? Like, truthfully, how should I have had any opinion of him, let alone a negative opinion?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, me just listening to all the negativity that was surrounding his name, so I fed into it. So I was like, so Kenny's like, well, let's join execution. I said, listen, I don't know if I'd be welcome there. Like, so I actually had a conversation with Calvin, and within 5 minutes of the conversation, I knew that my opinion was completely flooded with negativity, and it was completely wrong. It was diluted by other people's hatred. And Calvin explained the execution way to me, and I'm pretty sure it's a pretty open way. You come in, you enjoy the game. There's many different factions within execution. Yes, we have the execution top faction itself, but at any time you could be moved to another faction depending on who needs what help. And listen, if you're not available to feud, you move into one of the lower non-feuding factions. If you want to take a break from the game, you move into one of the non-active factions, and that's it. And if you need to do that for every single feud because you're not available, go ahead and do it. And I was like, really? Like, execution actually puts their real life in front of the game. I was like, oh, okay. And the thing with execution is, eventually you've done it. You fill out, as a visiting member, you fill out a form before every feud, and you state what you're available for. And the only thing they ask for is that you're truthful. So if you say, listen, it's a 48-hour feud and I'm available for 20 hours, okay, they expect you to play for those 20 hours. If you say I'm available for 3 hours, then they expect you to play for those 3 hours. What they don't want is they don't want you filling out the form and saying I'm available for 20 and playing for 3. Mm-hmm. They just want you to be honest. And they will accommodate you. And obviously people have their availability. Listen, there are people who work on the weekends and can't feud too hard on the weekend because they have to work and they have to sleep to prepare for work. That's real life.
Yeah.
So similarly, there's the And similarly, there's the weekday feuds that maybe somebody like you wouldn't be able to spend as much time in, and there's other people that are available those times. So it's really that whole teamwork approach.
I know people who their work week is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they're all. So if it's a Monday night into Tuesday feud, they could play the entire 24 hours.
Right.
But if it's a Friday into Sunday 48-hour feud, well, they may be able to only give 6 to 8 hours. Because they got to do what they got to do. They got to sleep. They got to prepare for work. They got to actually be at work. And it is what it is. That's, more important than that. But again, I like the execution philosophy. I enjoy the game again now that I'm in execution. I mean, listen, winning always makes things more fun. So let's be honest.
Yeah.
Winning always makes things more fun. Like, I'm a Yankee fan, so the fact that they did so well last year made going to games more fun. I'm a Giants fan. I didn't go to a single game last season because they were not doing well. It is what it is. Like, I haven't been to a Knicks game in forever because they suck.
Right.
Winning makes any game more fun.
Absolutely.
But also the fact that, like, I can feel free to play the way I want to play.
Burger King, have it your way.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, I mean, I gotta say, as a visiting player, just watching the systems that are in place to kind of collect all these different people with all these different schedules and just try to find the most optimal solution to get the main end result. It's such a selfless system that I mean, it's really remarkable. It's really remarkable how the whole thing works. And I think it's sad that, I mean, it makes sense. Like, people hate the Patriots because whatever, right? And It's the same thing, I think, with execution. But if I try to take the philosophy of what can you learn from the people that you might not like, that are successful, because once you put away that feeling of I don't like them, then you can actually learn something and grow from it yourself. Now, I never disliked execution because I wasn't a heavy feuder anyway. I just kind of watched from afar, but actually getting to see it in action, it's remarkable. Like, I would just challenge anybody to put in those kind of systems and develop that kind of culture. And if you can do it, then go ahead and hate. But if you can't, there's a reason why you're on top.
Well, if you think about it, what does everybody say? What's the first thing people say about the Patriots? They're what?
They're cheaters.
They're cheaters.
Yeah.
They're cheaters. That's right. The first thing everybody says about the Patriots. And what's the first thing everybody, if you go on the Facebook forums, if you go on Reddit, if you go on Twitter, what does everybody say about execution? We're what?
Cheaters, hackers.
Right. Because we're winning, we must be cheaters. Like, and I get it. Listen, before I was in Creep Squad, I think everybody knows what the nickname for Creep Squad was when they won the first few feuds. Yep. It wasn't Creep Squad, it was Cheat Squad.
Yep, I remember that.
Everybody would call them the Cheat Squad.
Oh my god.
And, like, I get it. Like, they're winning so much, they must be cheating.
People discount effective hard
in the late 90s, everybody said, oh, the Yankees are cheating because they're buying their titles.
Right, I remember that.
Well, if you think about it, when you're spending that much money on a game and you're winning, you're buying your titles. Okay, but that's not against the rules.
Right. It's a strategy.
True.
No one's hacking.
Salary cap, that's a strategy.
No one's hacking. No one's using any glitches. No one's, we don't take advantage of these things. Why? Because we want to win the right way.
Right. Well, I think what's also remarkable about execution is that there's this idea from the outside that it's either hackers, either cheating or buying your success. And the reality is most of your players are not heavy spenders or straight up free to play players. It's that teamwork mentality and that selflessness about, okay, where's everybody needed, and willingness to help out in different areas that makes everybody successful. And I think it's kind of like one of the things Gerson said last week that was really simple yet so true was you have to manage your expectations, that what you can't put in one thing and then expect to get 10 times the results. And but I do think that instead of again, instead of hating, start to see what is working and either implement it yourself or see if that's the type of culture you want to be around and go there, you know. And
I agree 100%. It's listen, there are times where, you know, we'll see posts in our Discord, and you guys are both members of our Discord, so I'm sure you see them as well. Like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. If you don't agree with it, well, maybe this isn't the place for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're not trying to be harsh. We're not trying to be dicks. We're not trying to be assholes. But that, you know, listen, things are done based on merit. So there may be a feud where I'll say, listen, like, for example, this feud coming up, the prize is Finn Balor, the Demon. Now, he's not an essential character in the game by any way, shape, or form. He's not that good of a character. You know, he was before trainers, but he's not now. And I have him already. So I made towards the end of the feud say, hey, does anybody, you know, need him, or does anybody want him as a prize? But it can't just be someone who played 1 hour in the game and scored 40 points and be like, oh, I want him, I'll take him. No, it's based on merit.
Yeah.
So someone who may be in one of our lower factions like NXT or Legacy, a free-to-play player who isn't going to pull for him.
Makes sense.
You know, who doesn't have him already. May say, you know what, a 2-star gold acrobat would definitely help me.
Yeah. And not to mention the headliner
and they sat there with their 15K roster or their 12K roster, you know, in the feud, and they scored 3 million points.
That's impressive.
You know, and they did that, and they worked their butt off to get that high. You know, we may turn around like, you know what, that's a person who, based on merit, deserves an opportunity to have that prize that somebody else is giving up. Now, obviously, the essential characters like Sting or prize, things change.
Right.
That's actually, you know, how I got my Sting from the faction feud.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really I think that's really the point that I hope people can take out of this is just it's not just in this game, it's just in life in general. It's very easy for us to look at somebody else's success, get envious, maybe point the finger of blame and all these things. And the reality is you can do that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just you're not going to get any further. If anything, it's just going to drag you down. If you take the time to just look at what are the strategies, mindsets, what are those people doing? Maybe it's not by accident, and maybe they're doing something, you know, positive. You can learn from that, and you can grow as a person. And I think that's just, again, it extends far beyond this game, and people do it in all facets of life. But it's just very easy to point outside rather than take a look inside and see what you can do differently.
Funny you should say that. Last night when I was doing, and the reason I did a stream last night was because honestly, like, I feel that like the only time I really get stuff done these days on my YouTube channel is during feuds. Like it's hard for me. Like you see, I have a young son who very much wants to do things with his father, and I don't want to deny him that privilege or right. It's actually not even a privilege; it's a right. As a 6-year-old child, you have the right to spend time with your parents.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to deny him that right. I was denied that. Got divorced. So, and I know what it's like to grow up with only one parent around. And to be able to get as much time with both parents as possible, I think is something special and something that should continue to happen. So I don't have time. Like I heard Gerson saying he spends 6 to 8 hours a day on his YouTube channel. Credit for that. I can't do it. So once in a while, I like to just throw a random midweek stream in so that my viewers can come in and you know, we can hang out, we can talk, have some conversations. You know, one of the things that my viewers love about me, very sarcastic with the way I speak to people, and that's just my personality. So, you know, I think Vengeful will remember the whole Jack Del Rio.
All right. Or the hey Brian, do you know Enzo's a really good farmer?
Yeah, Enzo's a great farmer. Someone says to me, Enzo's a great farmer. I'm like, really? Tell me more about this Enzo character. Meanwhile, the very first video I ever made on my channel showcasing how good Enzo is.
Yeah.
You know, and I did a Hell Mode Blitz with him and ended with 100% health without using a single prop.
Nice.
So, and then like there's this ongoing joke on hey, did you know Stardust is a good character?
That's like every stream of yours.
And that's where the whole Jack Del Rio came from, because finally I gave and I was like, tell me more about this Stardust. Well, like, what trainers do I need to use? The guy's like, well, you need to use Jerry Lawler and Del Rio. I said, which Del Rio do I need to use, Jack or Alberto? He goes, no, you need to use Alberto. I was like, oh, well, I only have Jack Del Rio. Now, anybody who's a football fan knows that Jack Del Rio is the coordinator for the NFL.
That's so funny.
Oh,
now, but listen, I'm just a sarcastic person, and the thing is, it's the same person every time who mentions how good Stardust is, and I'm like, and I really don't want to be mean to that person, sarcastic, and they're not picking up on it, and I hope they're not listening to this now, and he's talking about, wait a minute. But so I did a stream last night, and towards the end of the stream, you know, someone who was watching started comparing me to Gerson and Mark, Little C. He said, oh, I think you have a better roster than Little C. And I said, well, I don't really compare my roster to him because we have characters. I have characters he doesn't have, and he has characters that I don't have. You know, so we have different rosters. My roster may be bigger than his. Like I may have, but I also, like, he only works on specific characters. Like he has a lot of unlevel characters. And they're like, well, I think yours is better than Mark's, but Gerson's is better than both of yours. And I said, listen, I can't sit there and worry about somebody else's roster.
Right.
I can only worry about my roster. And the big thing is I can't get jealous of what other people have. And I think that's a big thing in this game is you cannot be jealous over what other people have that you don't. And that's a life lesson as well. Like I have my house. I can't look at my neighbor's house and be jealous that my neighbor has a house. If I wanted a bigger house, I should have worked harder and bought a bigger house.
Mm.
You know, I can't look at my neighbor's backyard and be like, my neighbor has a pool and I don't. Well, if I want a pool, I should put a pool in my backyard and not be jealous of the fact that.
Yeah, and actually, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you because I remember that from that stream. And it kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier in this episode, where the game can really take over your life if you let it, and that roster envy is a huge part of that. It's very easy to see somebody's mega poll or something on Reddit or a video on YouTube and just say, oh, I wish. And I wanted to ask you, how do you develop and maintain that mental toughness, especially when you're around so many top level players that have a lot of these desirable characters like the new Macho Man and others?
Well, listen, I want that new Macho Man, and I did a few polls for him, and I didn't get him. Set? No, because you have to go in with that mentality that you're not that much, and that's just what it's going to be. Like I've been burned so many times, and like as you know, pulled for Sting countless times, and I had to get him as a faction feud price. I still don't have AJ, and like I can't even tell you how many times I pulled for AJ. And in fact, whenever I pull for AJ, I end up getting a different 3-star.
Right.
It's like that's how I got my Nikolai Volkov, and that's how I got my Vader. I wasn't pulling for them, and I got them. Now, Nikolai Volkov, great character. I'm probably not going to level him because I already have NBT Brock at 3-star gold.
Right.
You know, it is what it is. I'm not going to level him, a guy who's essentially the same character as somebody else, same class, same trainers. But like, I've actually at this point given up on AJ. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to pull for him anymore. I don't need him. My roster is pretty good. In fact, I can't see any new character coming out right now that's going to be like, oh my God, I need to stop what I'm doing and pull for him.
Yeah, I think also at some point when you've grown your roster to a certain, you are always going to be limited by your MP trainers, right? And like to when I got I got AJ very early on, and later when I was trying to go for Sting, I got Warrior. And he uses Xavier Woods.
I think we pulled him on the same day, actually.
I think it was the same day, yeah. And I was excited to get Warrior, but I can't use them both at the same time viably. And at some point, you kind of realize, okay, I could get this new character, but it would neuter like 2 other 3-star golds that I've spent months working on. It's
Well,
like, okay,
that's one thing, and this is one piece of advice I could give to anybody who plays the game. And like I talk to Mark from time to time. Mark also lives in New York. We hung out once. We went to a wrestling show together, and he keeps saying that, like, oh, I don't need this guy because I have my he needs this MP trainer, and I already have him on somebody else. And I'm like, well, if you look at this week's feud requirements, because the biggest part of this game right now is the feud. Like, that is the biggest part of the game. And that's what you build your roster for, so that you can dominate in feud. Obviously, like, even with Blitz, you want low-level guys, not high-level guys. But you want to do well in Blitz so that you can build your roster so you can do better in feud.
Yeah.
So I look at it and I'm like, well, granted, right now, like, if I were to go on with that attitude, like, why would I want Macho Bray? And I currently have Bray on Cass. So why would I want Macho Man? Well, let's take a look at the feud requirements for this weekend. Let me pull up my give me a second. I'll pull up my feud roster. I have a screenshot of it on my phone. So this week's feud requirements are the 6 of the 7 guys from the elimination.
Right.
Because Elias isn't in the game. Now, I have Finn Balor. I don't have the Showboat Strowman. And, so right now, my Enzo is on my Harlem Heat Booker. But for the feud, I'm going to put him on The Miz.
Right.
Now, right now, Sting is on Andre. But for the feud, I'm going to put him on John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Bray is on Cass. Well, for the feud, I'm going to move him to Roman Reigns. My Steel is on NBT. I think I'm going to put him on top for the weekend. And then Waller, who currently on top, is going to go on Balor. So I'm going to have 5 guys who are maxed out 3-star silver or maxed out 3-star gold. I think it's going to be, I have 3 golds and 2 silvers. But they're each going to have an MP trainer on.
Right.
Now, do they normally get housed on those guys? No. But for a few coins, I'm going to move them.
Yeah, especially when you can utilize them for a 48-hour feud, and you're going to make your opponent's lives hell because they've all got MP trainers on them.
They've all got MP trainers, and even at 3-star silver with a maxed out 3-star silver and the right trainers, Roman Reigns and John Cena are going to be good. Now, I have the tokens right now to bring both of them to gold, and I have the coins that if I would make them gold, I can max them both to gold right now, and I have enough duplicates of both of them to max out their moves.
Nice.
Am I going to? No. I don't have a desire to have 2 powerhouses that need Bray at gold.
Right.
Because that, especially they're both. See, now, in that case, it would make no sense. For me to make Roman gold would make no sense.
Right.
1, Cass is better. 2, they're both Raw. 3, they're both modern era.
Right. So they don't differentiate.
They don't differentiate in any way.
Unless you have a requirement for any one specific character, it doesn't really matter.
Right. Now, in this case, there's a specific requirement for Roman Reigns. Okay, but you know what? I'm not going to waste the 5 kettlebells that I have that I want to use Luger Gold just to use Roman Reigns for one feud.
Right.
That would
make sense. Makes sense. Yeah, there's definitely a balance with it. It's you want to make sure that there is somebody on your roster. Like, it's the same thing with because I have Bray and Andre at 3-star gold, and they both need Sting. Most of the time, Bray has Sting because he's just a more powerful character.
Obviously.
But anything that requires Legends era, like last week's Blitz,
yep,
when they had the +2 MP, you're gonna move Sting for that. And certainly for feuds, I think it's more of the point that I think the point I was trying to make was actually a little bit closer to what you were talking about with Roman and Cass, where it's like, it doesn't really pay to do that. But I think also if you're working on a limited budget, you have to work around the trainers that you have and see.
Well, let's take a look at what I have now. I have a very unique situation here. I didn't have Sting, but I had Wyatt already at 3-star silver maxed out. Now, I also didn't have Balor. So I was like, you know what, let me make Wyatt gold. I had all the resources to do it. I was like, let me make Wyatt gold. And if I ever get Sting actually hadn't been released yet, so there was no red MP trainer when I did this. I was like, so if there ever is a red MP trainer and I get him, thing will be great. That thing, Wyatt will be great.
Yeah.
So I did it. I made Wyatt Gold. And then what happens a week after I made Wyatt Gold?
Balor.
Balor is the Mega. It was the SummerSlam Megas where they changed the whole system. And there were a whole bunch of new characters. I'm like, and I got Balor 3-star silver.
On a shirt pull.
No, it wasn't a shirt pull. It was a 30
shirt pull. A 30 pull.
Or 25. I think it was a 25 pull.
25 pull. Okay.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Right. They wanted to keep it at 10,000 cash, so it was a 25. And I got Balor. I was like, oh, wow, I just pulled Balor. That's awesome. Balor sat unleveled for 2 months. Because Lawler is on tough. That's not changing.
Yeah.
You know. Now, there have been times where Balor has gotten Lawler. For example, the Halloween feud, which was striker heavy. So I moved the trainer for that purpose. Now, the situation I have right now is I have 3 strikers that are gold that all require Titus.
Right.
Oh, you have Papa
and
Shango?
That's a tough situation.
No, it's
I do have
Brock
Papa
Lesnar.
Shango, but he's unleveled. I have NBT Brock.
Oh, okay.
And of course, Papa Shango will be another one who would require Titus. But he also requires Sting. So him and Bray are like, you know, they're identical. So here's the thing. Like, can I use all 3 in the same feud? Yeah. Because they don't require the same MP trainer. So if there was a striker heavy feud again, I could put all 3 in there. Obviously, Brock, who's the best one of the 3, would get Titus.
Yeah.
And then but Balor would still get Lawler. He would probably get like Darren Young to make the blue move stronger, and Wyatt would get Batista.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if I ever managed to work up my Russian, one of them would get him to make the black gems, you know, more powerful. But it's like the problem with the trainer situation is that you can't train more than one guy with each trainer. But there's so many guys that need the same trainer. So I get it where people say, I don't want to pick up these guys. But if you think about it, every single feud, I have gold guys that just get trainers moved. And the truth is, what am I going to do? Let these guys sit in my account and have 50 million coins that are never going to be used because I refuse to work a guy up? It's not like I'm pulling for new guys. I'm taking guys that are on my roster and building them.
Right. Well, I think also it depends on, again, how much you're working with. Because if you don't have the resources built up, or you're not able to acquire them, and through whichever means, you still have to be a little more strategic. But at the same time, you're still deciding who to take gold based on, okay, I need a good variety of guys per class and eras and SmackDown and Raw, and so that you're ready for any given situation. But
well, I don't have a good SmackDown.
I don't think anyone does.
I mean, listen, if you have AJ, you know,
Corbin,
AJ is probably the best SmackDown guy right now.
The face that runs the place.
Right now, my SmackDown guys are Showboat Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan. You know, Cena, they actually took away the SmackDown link from him, so he wouldn't be SmackDown.
Right.
I'm working on Kevin Owens, the trickster Kevin Owens. I have him at 3-star bronze right now, so he's going to be my next gold trickster.
Yeah.
And it also seems like every time I open Headliner, I get a Slammy. And I'm like, I don't have any tricksters to work on. What are you doing to me?
It's a sign. Well, I did also want to ask you, you kind of alluded to it earlier, just a minute ago, but we've talked about this before, but you seem to have a different approach as far as mega pulls, and that's led you to have maybe more 3-star golds than others that have outspent you. So what advice would you give players?
I'm not going to disclose how much I spent. And the reason I'm not going to disclose how much I spent is because part of it was some actual, you know, hard-earned money. And a lot of it was from gift cards from some very generous students that I built up over time. But if I actually calculated the amount, I'd probably. So you don't want to see a grown man cry, so that's not.
Yeah, no, it was not so much to discuss that, but rather,
of course,
but rather, you know.
But like I hear people like Gerson, you know, talking about how he had to take a second mortgage on his house to pay off his credit card bills, and then I hear guys like Mark say, "Oh yeah, I spent $1,200 on Cass and $600 on $1 Million Man, and I'm willing to spend $1,000 to get the Russian when he's a mega." And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, well, I'm not. And if I don't get him, I don't get him. You know, like, let's take a look at my roster. You know, I have plenty of guys sitting there who are viable guys. And like, why should I spend money on a chance at a mega when I have a guy sitting on my roster who's pretty decent, who I could take him to gold? Like, and I think I was part of the reason that you did this. I took Kalisto to
Yeah.
And Kalisto is basically a free-to-play character.
Yeah.
Like, you could get him in the premium pulls. You can get him in the 2-star chips.
He's amazing.
Right now, he's actually available at 3 full stars, but I'm not going to pull just to get it to fill a star.
Right. Well, he's one of those characters that, yeah, he's a hidden gem. I mean, you take him to gold, and you don't really, yeah, he's not the fastest if you don't have an MP trainer on him, but man,
he is. He is. You don't realize how fast he is. Because he has 2 6-charge moves.
Right. So, and it's kind of similar with RVD.
Oh, RVD.
Where he's just super fast. And a lot of people have some of these characters just rotting on their roster.
Well, I have RVD at 3-star silver, ready to go to gold. I just need 240 more black training points. TP. And I have them in my account, but they're reserved for Luger.
Right.
Now, Luger will be my next gold. Because he's the best powerhouse in the game. So, but let's see. I have my roster up right now. Aside from my golds, I have. All right. So, like, waiting in the wins, I have Kevin Owens. I have Dean Ambrose, the striker version. Now, I'm not going to take him to gold, but I am going to take him to 5,000 for his trainer ability.
Right.
Now, also, like, Shawn Michaels was a free character. And he's actually very viable and very decent.
Yeah.
And he's the best new gen showboat there is. Better than Yokozuna. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, you know, once I get that fuse that Scopely says I didn't deserve, even though I, you know, pulled it and they didn't give it to me. You know, and he has 2 full stars, he'll be worth it. You know, I also have Big Show the Giant. Very good character. I have him. I pulled him twice at 2-star gold, both times with holiday hats. So that's another free character that I can work on. IRS is another trickster that I like, and I'm willing to take the gold. You know, he's a good farmer, and also Luger makes him have more, you know, a good trainer for him because Luger puts more loot gems on the board, and now McMahon coming out, you know, which I'm in the running for.
Yeah.
You know, if I can get McMahon, who I will take straight to gold because I have all the things for him. You know, McMahon would make IRS more viable. So I'm trying to look at like the other characters. Like, yeah, McMahon is a good character. So if I make him gold, well, now his trainer ability is over 5K, which would help IRS.
Right.
Oh, why not work on IRS, especially since I have 2 good trainers for him already?
Yeah, so instead of saying, oh, I need to spend a bunch of money to get $1 Million Man, you're looking maximizing what you have.
I've never actually pulled for $1 Million Man. I've pulled when he was available. In the Player's Choice, I pulled. You know, in the anniversary pulls, I pulled. And I didn't get him. But he wasn't the target of my pulls.
Right.
But listen, I watched Mark do a stream last night where he was farming for Red TP.
Yeah.
And he was using $1 Million Man.
Yeah, I saw that.
And after like I think 7 or 8 matches, he had to send $1 Million Man in for a heal.
Right.
Well, I've done 50 or 60 matches farming with Enzo without using a single health pack.
Right.
Did I get as many loot boxes? No. Am I relying on my faction to help me out? No. Am I using health packs? No.
Nope.
So who wins here? If this was a competition, who wins? Enzo does.
Right.
Listen, is Enzo a lot slower? Absolutely. But in the long run, I think that I have the best farmer in the game. So why am I going to spend money to pull the $1 million man?
Right. Well,
now,
I think also
if I happen to get him on like a t-shirt pull,
right,
I have all the tokens I need to take him straight to gold.
Right. So you're prepared for it if it happens, but you're not hunting. I mean, and also you're at some point you have enough viable characters that, you know, enough of those top tier kind of guys that you don't necessarily need to go hunting for Finn Balor or Seth Rollins or somebody. So at this point, but it's kind of like what you told me at one point that, you know, you do the 130 pull. If you get him, you get him. Great. If not, I'm not going to go hunting for him.
Well, you have to set yourself a budget. And I think that's what people fail to do.
Right.
Is some people will go out and say, I want, who's the mega tomorrow? Kevin Nash is the mega tomorrow. I want Kevin Nash. Now let's take a look. Kevin Nash, and the reason I believe he's the mega is moves were just updated and he's in the not in loot section of your roster.
Right.
Now originally he was the red MP trainer, but they needed sales, so they changed Sting. So his trainer ability now is increased chance for red gems on the initial gem board. That's not a bad trainer for someone like Brock, powerhouse Brock. Or if you could have a third trainer for like Andre or Bray.
Right.
But we don't have third trainers yet. His moveset, not the best in the world. But let's say he was the red MP trainer and he was the most best, did have an awesome moveset. And he's coming out. And I said, you know what? I want Kevin Nash. I happen to love Kevin Nash. I loved him as a character, in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to set myself a budget. I'm going to say, you know what? And, I'll even give you a better example. The last time AJ was, I had $300 in iTunes gift cards. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do 3 pulls for AJ. If I get him, I get him. If I don't get him, I don't. The first pull that I did for him, I pulled Volkov.
Lucky.
Right. But it wasn't AJ. So I was like, all right, I didn't pull AJ. I got to try another pull. Second pull, I pulled Vader. I was like, you know what? I am not doing that third pull. I said, and I sent screenshots to some of my friends, and they're like, oh, I guarantee you if you do that third pull, you're going to
no
pull. I just wasted all of my luck.
Dupe
my luck is gone. I just pulled 2 megas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not
happening. There are people who would say, oh my God, I'm on a lucky streak. Let me pull again.
You're a math teacher. You know better.
But there are people who would say, I'm on a lucky streak. Let me pull again. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
Yeah.
Unless you're like Vengeful, who pulls 2 megas in one pull.
I've done that too. I pulled Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe in the same pull.
Oh.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe is still sitting at level 1. Kurt Angle is gold.
And that's when you're just okay. I'm going to be on a dry streak. But you also know if you do that, the numbers.
So for example, if you do that, let's say like right now, I believe it's Braun Strowman is the mega right now, and you can pull Bret Hart or Big Show or who's the third one? There's Bret Hart, Big Show, and Corbin.
Right.
If I were to pull right now, pulling for Strowman, because Strowman's the only one I don't have, and I would have pulled Corbin and Bret Hart, I'm not going to do another pull. Even though I didn't get the one I wanted, there's no way I'm going to have enough luck to pull a third one.
Right.
You also have to set yourself a budget. If you say you're going to spend $300, spend $300, not $1,300. Don't put a 1 in front of it. Or don't put a 0 at the end. That would be even worse.
Even worse. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. And I think the big takeaway from that is, set your expectation ahead of time of what you're willing to put forth, and just be willing to accept whatever outcome happens, because again, it goes back to that whole envy thing. You got to focus on what you have and not what you don't have. Because if you focus on what you don't have, uh, outside of maybe, I don't even know if this is true, but I would imagine there are a few players that have just about everybody, but probably not everybody. You can focus on that all you want, but there might be some hidden treasures on your roster. And if you spend your game cash on token bags and things like that to level up what you have, you're really going to be better off in the long run.
Well, that's what it is. That's where it comes in. That's what I tell people who want to spend, who have not that they want to spend. Like nobody really wants to spend money, but people will say, "Listen, I'm going to spend." They have no problem spending. I get it. You know, people don't mind spending, and people have money. People have disposable income. Other people, and I get free to play also. Listen, you want to play the game, but you don't have disposable income. Fine. What I tell people is don't waste your money on mega pulls. And if you're going to pull on megas, set yourself a limit and don't go over that limit. Now, I have a friend who happens to be in my faction who said, you know what? Tough was the mega, I think, last week. He said, I'm going to give myself one pull. And if I pull him, I pull him. If I don't pull him, I don't pull him. Would you know that on the 30th card of the pull, he got tough?
Oh, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Nice.
Right. And that is pretty awesome. But he was happy. And I said, honestly, though, what would have happened if you didn't get him? He said, well, I set myself a limit, so I wasn't going to pull again. I said, okay. Now, he happens to be one of those guys who won't use credit card. So he goes out and buys iTunes cards to make his purchases. Mm-hmm. So he only bought the one iTunes card.
Smart.
Right. So he could. Right. He doesn't have a credit card linked to his account, so he can't, go above that.
Right.
Smart.
But what I tell people is, listen, if you're going to pull for a mega, set yourself a limit. Say, this is how much I'm willing to spend, and be prepared not to get that with that expense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, more than likely you're not.
Right. Just be prepared not to get it. And then what I tell people is, but if you really insist on spending more money, the best thing to do is, first of all, the chain contract. Like, there's no reason not to have a chain contract. Yeah, even free-to-play players, if you can afford $8 a month, get the chain contract, because that's giving you 3,000 in-game cash and 300,000 coins for $8, and you're not going to get that deal anywhere else. Plus, at the end of the contract, you get that bag. And now, I gave that bag to I gave my son a chain contract, and he was able to pull the last Junkyard Dog collar that he needed to make his Roman 3-star silver.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, if you think about it, though, I've seen people who needed a JYD collar who spent $100 on an enhanced pack just to get the JYD collar. So you spent $100 to get it. I spent
$8. Yeah. While we're on the topic of your son, I remember as a kid, one of my greatest moments is coming home after school and playing games with my dad. That was like the complete highlight of my game. And I think it's so cool that you and your son plays champions together. Like, what is his favorite part of the game? What is his favorite character? Like, what do you guys personally like to do together to bond in the game? That kind of stuff.
So a lot of the stuff that he does in the game, like the dailies and his burst mode fame, that's really me doing it for him on his account while he watches me play. Because he's 6 years old. He doesn't know all of the strategies.
Right.
And I get it. And he gets bored very quickly. He was really into it at a time. Now, not so much. He'll play during a feud, but it's really hard to have him play during a feud because I have to sit with him and show him what to do sometimes, and that's taking away from me feuding. Right. His favorite character, I don't know why, is King Barrett. I don't know why his King Barrett.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
Maybe he just looks cool.
Yeah, he goes around saying, "I've got some bad news for you."
It's adorable.
And it's hysterical. And he doesn't watch wrestling, so he doesn't really know much about wrestling. He knows that some of his characters are really good. He does. Listen, he knows some of the strategies. I have to show him at times, and he's actually getting a little bored with the game. He's taken a step back. He actually moved from the NXT faction, which is a very hardcore feuding faction in an execution. He moved down to like the casual faction Legacy.
Right.
And for him, it's better because if he feuds 2 or 3 hours for the entire feud, he's done what he needs to do.
Right.
And he's not so worried about the rewards, because if there's a reward that I feel he needs that I don't need, I'll just give him my reward. I'm not worried about it.
That's so cool.
But yeah, he looks at it more as this is something I want to do because Daddy does it, and he wants to. Every 6-year-old boy wants to be just like Daddy.
Right.
If you look at his in-game name, it's Big Poppa Ethan, and he chose that just to be more like Daddy.
That's cute.
And the truth is, the reason his account got started was because I wanted to start an alternate account, because like I was getting really bored with the game. I was like, I've done everything. The road is done. This is done. I'm at the top of verse. Like, what else is there to do? Maybe if I start another account and make this almost completely free to play,
a new challenge.
A challenge for me.
Yeah.
He goes, well, I want to play. I was like, okay, so we'll make this account yours. And I knew that making it his, I would still end up doing like more, But he does sit with me, I would say about a half an hour a day. And I also don't want him like playing more than half an hour a day.
Right.
Because he is 6 and he has other things to do. He has homework to do. He has kid stuff to do.
Right.
Yeah.
But he does enjoy it. He does enjoy the fact that you have to, like, if you're using a powerhouse, I'm not going to go for the yellow gems because he doesn't have a yellow move. I'm going to go for the green gems because he has a green move. So he knows what to look for. He does know to look at the moves for. Like, I actually let him do some matches the other day with my MBT, and he was like, "Oh my god!"
Change his world.
Oh, this guy's good.
But then again, like when he was choosing black gems, he was just randomly choosing. Like he wasn't strategically placing them.
Right.
Because he's like, "Oh my god, this is so much fun."
They're all over the place.
Right. But it was lined up enough for him to still win the match.
Right.
But he's a good kid. Awesome. He has a decent roster, and that's thanks to some of the generosity of some of the guys in execution who have given up their feud rewards for him.
Man, that's really so nice, beautiful.
Yeah.
Where did your name Big Poppa come from?
You started off the podcast saying it, man.
So really from a Biggie song?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
you are so awesome. New York. So New York.
So at my wedding, you know how the man takes the garter off of the woman and throws the garter to all the single men?
Yeah.
Kind of like the reverse of when the woman throws the bouquet.
Yeah, right.
So the song that was playing when I was pulling the garter off was Big Poppa.
And it stuck.
So, it's been sticking. I'm also a big guy. I'm be a lot. So,
Okay.
The name kind of stuck.
What would be your wish list
People think
items?
It's a Scott Steiner reference, but
yeah, I could see that, but I really didn't think.
Which is the only reason I chose Scott Steiner.
Is your avatar?
Funny enough, I even though the Big Poppa pump, I never really saw it as a direct connection to Scott Steiner. Big Poppa Brian. Okay. What's your in your wish list, what would be like your top 3 of like new features or fixes for the game?
As much as I'm probably gonna get flack for this one, and people are probably gonna yell at me, I don't think the game is as broken as people think it is. And I'll tell you why. The only thing that we have a ton of trouble with is the new stuff that comes in. And I think what I would like to see is them beta testing new features before bringing them out.
You would think they do that though.
But the problem with this game is, and it's not really a problem with the game, more of a problem with the people who play the game, is that we want everything before it's ready. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants Hell Mode. Hell Mode's not ready, guys. If Hell Mode was ready, it would be out. You want them to release it now, it'll be very glitched and very buggy. And you don't want that. So I think Scopely would rather hear you bitching and moaning than out than to hear all the in the morning if it came out not ready.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
So, and I'm not taking Scopely's side in any way, and I'm not saying there's not things wrong with it. Listen, if you ever try to log in to play during a feud, you know that red ring just doesn't stop spinning.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what I would like to see them, I would really like to see them expand their servers, add some more bandwidth to their servers to be able to handle a feud. What I like is that lately they've been doing the 5-on-5, or in this case, the 6-on-6 feuds, so that it's less people and less of a strain on their server.
Yeah, it's a bit faster that way rather than 9.
Right.
I actually like the 4-man feuds. Those are really fun.
Well, it is a 5-man feud. You just don't have all 5 guys.
Good point. Fair point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot faster there. I do agree. There's the game right now, if you picked it up and started playing it versus 6-8 months ago, there's a lot more that works right now than what worked back then.
Agree. Like, there are so many, like, if you were to pick up the game now as opposed to when I started playing, you would see that things are like a lot different. And people keep saying, oh, why do you keep bringing out new features if you're not fixing the broken ones? Well, please tell me, what features do you feel are broken?
I think there's certain things that could use a massive overhaul, but not necessarily broken. Like Versus, I think is
Versus is broken.
It's a
Versus is just not
crap
good.
show.
Versus is broken. It's a joke at this point.
Yeah,
like,
but I think some of the things that they've done recently, if you really step back and you say, I like this new missions.
I do like
system.
that, especially since missions were broken for me.
Yeah,
I complete.
Oh right, you couldn't even do them because you hit 200.
Right, because I was over level 200.
Right.
So that's good. They fixed that too. You know, up until recently, when I leveled up, I would get a network, and whatever guy I was using would be at 0 health. And when I log back in, now I level up, I get my reward, I move on. So they did fix that.
Yeah, it's true.
And they put in levels up to, I think, up to level 500 is in there.
Right. That's going to take a while to get there because it keeps growing.
Right, and hopefully by the time we get there, they'll have a fix for it. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they did put also a temporary fix in for people who passed 500 days, where at day 502 you go back to day 451.
Right.
Which people are saying, oh my God, that's just a workaround. Like, yeah, but it's a better workaround than telling you have to start over day 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, you know, 50 days later, you're getting your 500.
I do think, I think there's been a lot of elements, if you really are objective, from, say, November. I think October was pretty bad with the
October was
the
horrible.
zombie event. That was really bad. But starting November,
See, the thing is with October, with the zombies, the concept was good. The concept alone was giving the free character, having the event, offering the free character. If you listen, I don't fault them for having these pay-to-win events. Why? Because they're a business. And businesses are in businesses to do what? Make money.
Yeah.
They're not in business to give you stuff for free. And whenever I see people on Facebook or Twitter or Reddit complaining, oh my God, you know, you guys want us to pay for everything. Yeah, they want you to pay for everything. Do you walk into McDonald's and say, give me a 6-piece nugget and walk out without paying? Like, they're in business to make money. I'm like, I was like, are you the type of guy who walks into a restaurant, sits down, eats a 3-course meal, and then gets up and walks out? No. You get a check, you pay your check, and then you get up and walk out. Well, you know what? You want a free character? Here's a 1-star bronze character. You want a 3-star bronze character? You're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah, I think it was, but that month, obviously, there were the issues around how that event was executed.
Yes, you know, and the thing is, they weren't, that wasn't part of their plans originally. The zombies.
Yeah.
And that was shoved down their throat by the WWE. And listen, everything is licensed by WWE. You know, to use the characters' names, you have to have those licenses. And if you don't do what they tell you to do, they're going to pull the license, and then the game is dead.
Right.
So, you want to suffer through the zombie thing for a month, or do you want to lose the game completely?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just that being able to step back, because it's you know, you can just to wrap it up and bring it back to the beginning, you can let this game completely take over your life. And if this is the focus of your day every day, then yes, you are going to be upset when the slightest thing, the limited tour is not paying out loot boxes or something, or first time rewards. Those things are going to bother the hell out of you. But, when that's why I think, or between that and the roster envy and whatnot, if you focus on just, this is a game and I have my life and there are things in my life that are more important for you, your family, right? And for us, our family too. And maybe our careers or just hobbies or friends, whatever the case may be, you focus on the things you can control and the things that are fulfilling to you, and let this game be a game. If you allow that to happen, you will enjoy it so much more. And
I saw people when they changed the daily, to the daily missions, and then the Dean's Daily was only the once a day. People were like, oh my God, what am I going to do through the rest of the day? I'm like, how about have a life?
Yeah. I was so happy when they did that. I'm so glad
that I only have to play an hour a day.
Yeah.
If I, and truth is, if I miss it, I miss it.
Right.
If I want to play for 15 minutes, get a couple matches in, and then go back 15 minutes later, I can do that.
Yeah.
And you're like, and I think one of the things that sticks out in my mind is I was on a cruise this summer, and I had, I got the Wi-Fi package on the cruise so that, my son can enjoy some things, and of course I could log into my game. And it was like 7:45 at night. I was like, oh, good. In 15 minutes, I could do my daily tour. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm on vacation, and I'm thinking about this game. And I put my iPad away. I was like, you know what? When I finish doing what I'm doing, I'll do, and then before I go to bed, I'll log in and I'll.
Priorities, yeah.
Priorities, man.
And since then, I have not once stared at my watch and said, when can I do my next tour?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think it's really, we're going to have to wrap this up here, but I think if that's one takeaway that for our listeners here, you have a guy here. I mean, what do you have? 23-star golds at this point?
I have 20, with 2 in the works.
2 in the works. You're in the top faction. You are a high-level player by any definition, and you prioritize life first, and you put the game in perspective. You can have it all. You can do it both. And I think, but we'd all agree that life first is the most important thing. And if you put life first, you'll be able to enjoy the game a hell of a lot more.
Well, that's the thing. Life has to come first for any situation. And listen, if I were getting paid to do this and I was making a career out of it, yeah, I could put, but it's not, and I do enjoy the game. I enjoy going on and doing streams. I enjoy reaching out to the players, and I enjoy giving advice. Like I try to be a helpful person in life, not just in this game. Like that's why I became a teacher, because I want to help people. And the YouTube channel is great. It'd be nice if I had some more subscribers. So those of you listening, Big Poppa Gaming on YouTube, check out, hit that subscribe button when you get there. I need 400 more subscribers before YouTube will decide if they want to pay me or not. And again, like, I'm not in it for the money. If I never make $1 on it, great, whatever. If I make a few dollars, fine. I'm not so worried about it. I'm like, if you look at it, I'm one of the few YouTubers who doesn't have a link for donations on his page. And the reason is I don't want people to feel they have to give donations. And when, like you ever walk into a store and the cashier hands you your change and you see that little box in front of you and you're like,
the guilt box.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I have to put something in it because I have a handful of change, and you feel guilty not doing it. So you drop what, your 50, 75 cents in there.
Right.
The same thing is like, I don't want people to log onto my channel. Like there's this link right there that asks for donations. And I'm not mocking or taking anything away from people who do have it on there. Because like I know, for example, that Gerson has spent more money just setting up his page than I have.
Right.
He has the green screen.
It's different objectives.
It's a different objective.
Yeah.
Same thing with Little C. He spent more money on his artwork than I did.
Right.
They also spend more money on the game than I do.
Right. And it's also the time commitment. I mean, Gerson spends more time on his YouTube channel than maybe any of us other content
Combined.
creators combined.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
the amount of content he puts, he's
he has
so
the advantage
dedicated
of working
to it.
from home.
Yeah.
He also works from home.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that he doesn't do his job, because obviously he wouldn't be able to keep his job if he didn't do his
Right.
actual job.
Right.
But
it's
his job
different
is
circumstances.
tech support, where he sits at his computer doing his work.
Right. Right.
So while he could have a separate screen open, I'm not saying recording videos, but at least, uploading or whatever.
Right. He can multitask and do that. Whereas if you're teaching a class, you can't do any of those things. But hey, Brian, it's been awesome.
Yeah, guys, it's a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to do it.
Yeah, man.
I look forward to seeing who comes next.
Yeah, we got a few in the works, and
Yes.
but as time goes on, I would love to have you back. There's a lot of great perspective that you offered, and really appreciate your time.
I thank you guys for having me.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks.